Welcome back. With a mission to address the issues facing the world, the organization Echoing Green aims to empower emerging leaders with the best ideas for social innovation. Echoing Green's community of nearly 1,000 social innovators include past fellows such as former First Lady Michelle Obama and the founders of Teach for America. Chief Operating Officer for Echoing Green, Sharyanne McSwain, now joins me to discuss their latest initiative titled the Signal Fund. Sharyanne, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Kibin. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about your organization because you're doing so many amazing things. Can you first share an overview of Echoing Green and its mission?
Sure. Echoing Green is a global nonprofit that finds early stage social innovators. Those are emerging leaders with the absolute best ideas for social change. Our fellowship is an 18-month program that provides support in three main areas: capital, capacity building, and community. Echoing Green Fellows work on a variety of important issues such as climate, food justice, health, racial equity, technology, and many, many more sectors. Our fellow community is made up of nearly 1,000 fellows, as you mentioned. They are from 86 different countries around the world. And in Echoing Green, we really believe that investing in people is the most important thing. Yes, a business plan is important, but it's truly our fellows that we invest in.
Now that's amazing, and as you like, all the things that you mentioned is just you're just doing amazing work, and you've added on to that with the Signal Fund. Can you provide an overview of the program and its objectives?
Sure. Echoing Green has created the Signal Fund as a financial tool that provides capital to social innovators at very critical growth stages. Despite being one of the most powerful drivers of social change, so many social innovators aren't receiving the capital that they need to scale when they need it most. So to date, we've raised $15.6 million and invested $3.6 million as a part of our pilot phase.
Well, with that, I definitely like to learn a little bit more about the inspiration behind, what sparked the creation of the Signal Fund.
Echoing Green has been around for 36 years. And since our founding, we've tested a variety of funding mechanisms to invest in social innovators. And what we found is that social innovators' needs are not at all being met in the current funding landscape using traditional capital markets. And that's why Signal was created, to ensure that social innovators are able to receive the funding that they need in order to grow and scale.
Now, I'm curious to know, how does the Signal Fund differ from, maybe some other financial tools currently available for people who are, working to create social change?
Well, Signal Fund gives priorities to founders with what I would call overlooked potential for scalable social impact. In the current climate, fundraising is really difficult for entrepreneurs. And through the Signal Fund, we have a means of strengthening and de risking this new pipeline of social innovators. These are ones that we believe that are going to expand the set of leaders who are so often overlooked by mainstream philanthropy and financial institutions. We believe that this fund will help proven social innovators move past what we call the valley of death that so many startups face, achieving organizational milestones recognizable to traditional investors without compromising in their impact.
Now, how does the Signal Fund address the significant funding disparities faced by Black led organizations and underrepresented founders, as highlighted in several studies?
At Echoing Green, we know for a fact that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And year after year, we see stark disparities in funding along racial lines. In 2019, we did some research along with our partner, the Bridgespan Group, And that showed that revenues of Black-led organizations were 24% smaller than those of their white-led counterparts. And the unrestricted net assets of Black-led organizations were 76% smaller than their white-led counterparts. In the mainstream capital space, a 2023 study by McKinsey was able to reveal some similar disparities with startups by underrepresented founders, including women. Those founders were receiving only 43% of the funding compared to their white male counterparts. Really, this is a risk-averse funding sector that leads to too many emerging leaders unable to receive support.
Now, what are some of the key challenges social innovators face when trying to seek or obtain funding?
Um, One issue is that social enterprises are often considered to be too high risk for traditional investors, despite the extraordinary potential for impact. And by infusing capital at a particularly critical time, the Signal Fund investments make it possible for social enterprises to navigate that valley of death to achieve sustainability and unlock innovation and impact that would otherwise go unrealized.
Now, what criteria was used to select the initial recipients of the Signal Fund?
Well, right now, the fund is open to Echoing Green Fellows, our own fellows, and as part of a 2-year pilot program, Signal is going to be making 20 investments in Echoing Green Fellows. The fund has already distributed about $3.6 million to 12 Echoing Green Fellows.
Now, the Signal Fund recipients are driving transformative impact in various areas. Can you provide some specific examples of the impact their organization is making?
Sure. I'd love to share with you two of the investments that we've made with New York City-based fellows. The first is Donnell Baird. He leads an organization called Block Power, which is a climate technology company that's contributing to the green economy and supporting the transition to renewable energy sources by making city buildings greener, smarter, and healthier overall. A second example from somebody that's in New York City is Jelani Anglin. He heads Good Call, which is an organization that seeks to reduce mass incarceration and empower communities impacted severely by the criminal justice system.
Now, how do you envision the Signal Fund, continuing to drive social change and innovation globally?
Well, as a result of our initial investments, the Signal Fund recipients have already leveraged an additional $18 million in funding for their organizations. That's absolutely huge. And Signal is aiming to test all of this through our new funding model. And we hope that we're going to be disrupting the current funding landscape that seems to be misaligned with the needs of social innovators and what the capital markets are interested in doing. Ultimately, we want to see social innovators receive funding that is critical such that they can grow and scale and increase their impact.
Now, what other resources or networks Echoing Green Fellows have access to?
Echoing Green is able to leverage our global network of solution-driven professionals and industry leaders in order to support our fellows both today and into the future. From our well-being and spiritual self-care to financial and business strategy, fundraising, for essential capital, our fellows are guided with critical and timely advice as they navigate the social entrepreneurship and social impact fields. After their 18-month fellowship program, Echoing Green Fellows join a lifelong community of the nearly 1,000 fellows around the globe. And as we like to say, once a fellow, always a fellow.
That's amazing. So, what advice would you give to new social innovators seeking to become an Echoing Green Fellow?
You know, Kibin, my best advice would be that new social innovators need to practice self care whenever they can. They need to make time for it. Being an early stage social entrepreneur is really taxing, especially for leaders of color. Burnout is a huge issue, especially in the nonprofit sector. And at Echoing Green, our wellness and well being support is built directly into our approach. And so we encourage self care and truly want our fellows to be well. And that way they can continue to show up in the ways that the world really needs them to produce social change.
Well, Sharyanne, I want to thank you so much for joining us and, telling us a little bit more about the community Echoing Green has built and the work that they're doing to, as you mentioned, create change in the world. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
To learn more about the Signal Fund, please go to the website echoinggreen.org. Stay tuned, we have more for you right after this.